If you like this video, please give it a like and hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell not to miss more content coming soon. Welcome back to another episode of FPL Squad Picks. We have Game Week 20, and in this video we're going to take a little look at the Game Week 19 points review for my team, take a look at some transfer options. We're going to do a little planning ahead there with a few other popular choice players, team selection at the end as well to see who I've got benched, who I'll be starting, and a bit of a discussion on some captaincy options for my team and across other players as well. So here we have the results for the Game Week 19 double. So it's finally done. Feels like I've had a lot of thought gone into all of this, especially because I didn't use a wild card or free hit this week. So I was building towards this game week, and we had a lot of postponements and changes to fixtures. We had the Leeds game, which I had 3 players for. That was postponed early on. We saw that disappear, thinking that both Leeds and Southampton would then lose their double game weeks. Then we also had another one with Villa going off, but bringing Villa back. So they had the Newcastle game added to the end of Game Week 19, which saw a good return for both Aston Villa defenders and attack, with Ollie Watkins getting his goal after being so dangerous in the box for so long, but just missing out, finally picking up a goal there. So yeah, it's been a bit of a strange one. We started off with a Wolves loss to West Brom, so they finally seen a bit of a late bounce with Sam Allardyce, or I think that's more maybe a reflection on Wolves really missing Raul Jimenez at the moment and just seem to not be able to get the same levels as they did last season. Leeds then were in the single game week category. Unfortunately, they just couldn't find the net against Brighton. And Brighton had a well-deserved win there. So the 2 players that I did continue to hold from the Leeds team, Bamford and Dallas, didn't pick up anything more than just 2 points each. But still, looking back on it, I think I still would have continued with the same game plan instead of taking extra hits for them. They did have a good potential to get something back from that game. The return of Antonio for West Ham saw him straight in amongst the goals, which is brilliant, and he repeated that then against a West Brom team later on in that same game week. So that's my player that I transferred in for an injured Dominic Calvert-Lewin, so I was quite pleased with his performance. And yeah, we had a few other fixtures that sort of came up with a few good results, some that saw some players blank. We had Vardy and Salah both blank. I did have Salah in my team, but the blank for Vardy as well. He was another player that a lot of people were looking to bring in for this double, which was quite surprising, having him not pick up anything, even though they were tricky fixtures. So yeah, the single game week players, a lot of these people were thinking maybe to play them or not, or transfer them out for other premiums, but all Kane, Son, Aubameyang and Saka got returns in their single fixtures. So a bit frustrating for the people obviously that were just hoping that the doubles were going to get them more points, but I think a lot of the sort of premium midfielders didn't perform as well as hoped. So yeah, we'll take a little look into that and get into more detail later on in the video. So here's my squad for Game Week 19. I played my bench boost chip, which saw 19 points come off the bench, mostly down to Justin with a 14-point haul. Didn't get much else from the others, but I think quite happy with 19 points overall. Got to a total of 107 points, which was good to be in the 100 points club, but narrowly just got there with Martinez and Watkins getting me some late points in the Aston Villa Newcastle game. Watkins finally getting the net and getting some points back from there. Martinez staying solid at the back with some save points from the Man City game earlier in the week. That all resulted in a green arrow for my team. I got an overall ranking into the top million now, It's in the top right hand corner. That's an actual number there. Captaincy didn't really work out that well this week. Bit of a shock result with Salah blanking in both games, but wasn't expecting him to be rested in the second fixture really. I think a lot of people had that as well with a few of the premiums. Fernandes only getting 8 points across the two. Kevin De Bruyne did well, but still not a really great one, and I didn't have him in my team for this week, unfortunately. The Man City rotation didn't go in my favour. Cancelo missed the first game, coming on towards the end. Mahrez, again, just a solitary point there, missing the first game completely with only an off-the-bench appearance in the second game. And Foden didn't really find the net or assist anything, which is a bit frustrating, but got some good points across the others in the team. Got some good results from the West Ham boys. Seem to be doing quite well at the moment. So very frustrating in the KDB and Stones saga. I think anyone that didn't have Stones in their team this week was kicking themselves after that first Man City game. But I did, in one of my other videos, have a little look at some different team layouts, and to potentially take an 8-point hit. I think it was taking out Trent for Stones, and then I could have replaced Mahrez with Kevin De Bruyne. That would have seen me have a lot more points, but it was a risk to take -8 points for that. So I thought, just try and give Mahrez the benefit of the doubt and go from there, but didn't quite work out. But again, still happy with 107 points. So here's my team as it currently stands, and let's take a look at some transfer options. So things to get out of the way first, obviously Kevin De Bruyne and Vardy are both out. So I think Kevin De Bruyne's got a few more weeks out according to Pep. But Vardy might be returning a bit sooner than that. But at the moment, it's a no-go for game week 20. So that would have been my sort of go-to choice really, to bring in Kevin De Bruyne. Probably do that same switch that I should have done really last week, which might have been a change for Trent Alexander-Arnold to a cheaper defender, to then bring in Kevin De Bruyne in place of Mahrez. So this week I'm checking out what to do for my free transfer, and I'm pretty happy with the structure of the team as it is at the moment. Got a very cheap front line, but a bit more money then through the midfield. I know that Trent is taking up quite a lot in defence, so it is a bit of a, do I stick with Liverpool's form for now? But I'm sure after this Tottenham game, Liverpool's fixtures take a little bit of a turn for the better. I'm sure he'll get amongst the points again, especially with Joel Matip looking to return back to that central defence. And I have got a bit more money wrapped up in my goalkeepers, because I do like to alternate between the two. Others might just want to go for one cheaper and bench option and stick with the same goalkeeper. So my only option that I've been looking for really is a switch to Gundogan. So I know that he's been amongst the points recently. He has been on penalties, and with Kevin De Bruyne out, maybe he's the go-to now for penalties. I know that I'm pretty much expecting Sterling to play, and he might be the penalty taker. But after his miss going over the bar, it is a bit of a doubt whether Pep is going to want him to take the next one or go with Gundogan, who seems to be in form, and obviously netted the last one he took. The price difference is massive. If I was to switch him out for someone, it would be Mahrez. So going from 8.1 to 5.5 is going to put 3.5 million in the bank. That I could roll over that to next week, instead of trying to spend it all for an extra 4-point hit this week, and then obviously look to build for the next double game week, or just add in another premium player as and when the fixtures look good. But again, it's the risk of the Pep rotation. Through the FA Cup game that had just been played, Gundogan was benched but did come on. Foden actually started the game and played the entire game, but also then scored a vital goal in making sure they got the win. Cancelo similarly was benched, but had to come on. Took a big shot from outside the box, so it looked pretty decent. Still just that threat that he might get some attacking returns as well as a defensive one. But you do run the risk of the rotation within Pep's team. So I'm expecting, hopefully, Foden, Gundogan and Cancelo all to play. It's just a bit of a doubt on Mahrez, but I'd like to think that without Kevin De Bruyne in the team, they might be looking to fill other players in, such as Sterling. So it's using up those bench options. They could bring in Bernardo Silva, who's been doing a really good job there as well. But Mahrez was in favour a few game weeks back and playing consistently. So will he bring him back into the fold now? Big guessing game. The reason why I'm debating this is because I'm also thinking, do I just keep the team as it is and roll that transfer over till next week? So that gives me then 2 free transfers. I know that there is talks of potential double game weeks in amongst, I think it's about 23, 24, and there's pretty much nailed on going to be one in game week 26, but it's not been confirmed yet on the FPL games. So it'll be handy to have those 2 transfers, even if next week I end up just using one and keep rolling that over as and when those fixtures get announced. It'll be really handy to be able to switch to the players that have got those double game weeks. So looking at other players that we have within the teams, Man United are playing really well, top of the league at the moment, and I've got a favourable fixture this week against Sheffield United. I have got Bruno Fernandes, who was rested for most of the FA Cup game, but did have to come on towards the end. There is potentially an argument to bring Rashford in instead of Mahrez, but I'm not sure of injury news at the moment for him. That's been confirmed, but he did look like he took a little knock in that game in the FA Cup, so he could be out, or could just be looking to have his minutes managed against a Sheffield United team that unfortunately isn't looking as strong as they were last season. So it may be a case of that he gets handed a rest. But there are other United players to look to bring in, such as Cavani. He's in good form at the moment. I think Ollie's liking what he's adding to the team. Martial might deputise from Rashford's position, so you could bring him in. But again, he's not someone that's been really in amongst the goals. I think Greenwood looks like a great option, but for some reason he's just not getting those full games at the moment. I think Ollie's just slowly reintroducing him in. I quite like him on that right. He's quite direct and he's a bit cheaper. But again, would you want to put someone else in as also a rotation risk? Because that would probably be a Mahrez switch to Greenwood or something like that for me. So I don't know if those are the right moves for this game week. And I might end up just sticking with the one and hoping it doesn't kill me off too much with a massive points haul from someone like Cavani. There's also the Spurs players to look at. A lot of people looking ahead to that double game weeks that haven't been announced yet, but we know that Spurs will be due a double game week at some point. They just won their FA Cup game, so obviously that will have a little knock-on effect with the Premier League fixtures. But a lot of people looking to bring in either Kane or Son or even both. Both getting a return last week from just a single game week, and doing better than others that had doubles. So we know that they're consistently getting in amongst the goals and getting points back. It's just as and when to bring them in, and also do you want to bring one or two of them in? I think this week against Liverpool, never mind the sort of lack of form that they've had recently, Liverpool can turn it on at any time, and Tottenham can be very defensive, might look to play on the counter, but it's going to be a very tight game, or it's going to be goals galore. It's going to be one or the other. So it's quite a risky strategy to try and bring one in. But with a lot of people, maybe with Kevin De Bruyne and looking for that move, I think Son might be a good option to bring in now ahead of those fixtures. Even if you play him and hope he gets points, or if you've got a strong enough team to even look to bench him. But I can't see a lot of teams that have got that much strength to be able to bench someone like Son, at the risk he does get a points return. Another little side note is that I've actually got 2 Leeds players, and I did have 3, but one of the switches from my game week 19 did take a 4-point hit, was Rafinha out for Foden. I thought he's going to be a better long-term keep, and obviously the Leeds boys only had one fixture last week as well. So because that was changed from the postponement to Southampton fixture. This week they've got Newcastle. They are away, but Newcastle's form has been so poor that you'd like to think Bamford could get an attacking return, could potentially see a clean sheet from Dallas, and we know that Dallas likes to push up that field, so we could even see an attacking return as well. So I'm quite glad that I've got 2 Leeds players in. I'm not looking to keep them massively long term, but again, the price on them is quite good as a holding player, so we'll see how they go. If they keep getting small returns back, I'm happy with that, because at some weeks I might just look to bench them instead of having them in the team, but this week I think both might make my team. If you're enjoying the video and would like to support the channel, please hit the like and subscribe buttons below. Now let's get back to it. So those were a few of my options for transfers this week, or potential rolling over of the transfer to next week. I have made a quick list of some popular choices that have been going around, replacements for Kevin De Bruyne, for Vardy, or just in general, just to bring these players in because of the fixtures, or looking forward to have a few good little run of fixtures. I have got another watch list video that I will pop in the end of this, so if you fancy watching that, I go into a bit more detail of the players that look good this week and ones to watch, but I have just listed a few here quickly. As you can see, they've got the Man City boys, Sterling, Stones and Diaz. I think aside from the ones that are already there on my team, these are another 3 that people are looking at potentially bringing in. Obviously Sterling is one of the more premium players for price, so it could be a like for like with Kevin De Bruyne. Stones could free up some money in your defence, still being a really reasonable price. Diaz a little bit more expensive, but still getting that nailed on position in a Man City team is so worth it. But we'll just have to see again. You know, Pep is not afraid to rotate his team at all. He has given even Laporte minutes in the FA Cup, so could see a little change around there just to give players that rest. But I think he's managed Diaz quite well, so that he might just start again in the next few games for the Premier League fixtures. For the Leicester players, Maddison and Barnes have both looked like good form, scoring goals, getting into the box and being dangerous. Will it be affected now that Vardy's out? Bit unsure. They did perform quite well in the FA Cup, but it was against the lesser team. Will they still be able to bring that same form over into the Premier League? It might even have the reverse effect of Vardy not being there. It forces them up the field more and into that box because they know they haven't got that hitman to sort of get long balls in over the top. So we might see good returns from them. Again, I mentioned the United player earlier. So we've got Rashford and Cavani listed there. Rashford might be a bit of an injury doubt, but if he is fit and we get some word on that before deadline, definitely one to consider against Sheffield United. Cavani seems to be in that starting number 9 position, so I think he is definitely another one to look at if you're looking to bring in the United player. And again, it's ones that aren't already on my team there, so Fernandes is obviously another popular choice. Got Kane and Son, as mentioned previously as well, both popular choices for the fixtures going forward. Not so much this week, but they are still getting good returns, it seems, no matter what team they play. And we've also got Jack Grealish listed there. I thought it was worth a mention because they are playing Burnley this week. Seen some good form in the last game as well. He seems to be quite a consistent player, and I think it's very good going forward. They've got quite a good few fixtures. Yeah, just one to watch. I know that he is on 4 yellow cards at the moment, but I think this may be their last game, or he might have just had it where it refreshes, and then he would need to get 10 cards before getting a match ban. So 10 yellow cards would equal the match ban after the 19th game. I hope that makes sense. But at the moment, I think he's good. So if you wanted to look for sort of a mid-price midfielder, I think he's one to also look at. Okay, so here we have my team selection for game week 20. Just to note that this is just a draft. It's not locked in yet. I will be sort of waiting till close to deadline just to hear any last minute injury news and to make any decisions on any transfers. But yeah, so there's my starting 11. Absolute madness that I think I'm even thinking of having Trent on the bench along with Souček and Justin after just getting a 14-point haul. But just purely basing it on fixtures, if you start from the back, I've gone for Martinez over McCarthy. I think Arsenal are showing some good form, so may slip a goal from that fixture. whereas Aston Villa have been looking quite solid at the back against a Burnley side that doesn't usually score a lot of goals. Gone for Soufal again. West Ham just been solid at the moment. Crystal Palace, quite a defensive team. They can get some good returns, but they're very hit and miss. And I think I'd like to back the West Ham boys in that fixture to keep a potential clean sheet. I've gone for Dallas over Trent Alexander-Arnold. That's sort of my switch. I mean, Cancelo against West Brom is pretty much a given, but I think Dallas offers not just this a similar sort of attacking flair that Trent Alexander-Arnold would by pushing further up the field, but against Newcastle, you'd like to think that they would keep a clean sheet, more so than Liverpool could keep a clean sheet against Tottenham. Again, that could be a 0-0 game. It could be a 3-3 game. So who knows? But that's sort of my thinking at the moment, that in terms of attacking plus defensive points, Dallas and Trent are pretty much, for these fixtures, interchangeable. But Justin, I can't see them going and keeping a clean sheet against Everton. They have done really well, but I know that Calvert-Lewin is back now and played quite well in the recent FA Cup game. So with Calvert-Lewin back in the team, I'd like to think that probably Everton would go on to get an attacking return there as well. Looking at the midfield, I've benched Souček. Again, still not completely set on that because it is against Crystal Palace. He's been so good from the set pieces, corners, free kicks. He's been getting his head on them, finding the net in a few consecutive game weeks. It has gone a little bit quieter, whether that's because Antonio is now back in the team and they've got sort of a spearhead for their attack, so Souček is sitting further back, or it's just that he's just not getting those chances that game for that set piece. But the fixture is very favourable. But if you look at the other midfielders I've got, it's quite difficult to say to bench or get rid of any of those when you've got Man City boys against a West Brom team that's struggling. You've got Manchester United, Bruno Fernandes against Sheffield United again, another struggling team towards the bottom. And Salah, can you really leave him out even if it is against Tottenham with a good defensive structure? He's just gone and scored 2 against United. Hopefully now he will start to bring back some more form. You can't leave him out of your team for someone like Souček. So I think he's the one to take a hit from this lineup, which brings me to the strikers. It is a very cheap front line, but all getting good returns. I mean, in the last week alone, both Watkins and Antonio got 3 goals between them. Bamford against the Newcastle team, you'd like to think he's also going to find the net. And with the other fixtures for both Watkins and Antonio, similar things. You'd think that they're both going to get a return from this. If it's not a goal, potentially an assist. So yeah, I can't really see why the need to go for any premium strikers at the moment with the fixtures this week. And I think they're all quite capable of doing the job. This is my team as it stands without any transfers. I know that we previously talked about potential to switch Mahrez to Gundogan and get that money in the bank for a potential transfer going forward. But I am tempted to also keep that transfer and have 2 free going forward. I think that's going to be such a valuable thing to have. I mean, I have still got 1 wild card left now. I don't have my free hit and I don't have my bench boost, so it's just a triple captainship. So when these next game weeks are announced that have the doubles in, there is a potential to hit the wild card the week before and then play a triple captain. But even as we've seen, fixtures get postponed, teams go out with COVID and they get cancelled. So it's ever changing. So to keep a wild card, I think is quite a powerful thing to have. So if you can just roll 2 transfers and then something like that happens and you get a double game week announcement, or we get a cancelled fixture and you need to switch some players out, I think that'll be a lot more valuable than having potentially 3 million in the bank, because you could use that. Say I could downgrade Mahrez to Gundogan and upgrade then one of my strikers to say Kane in the next game week. So yeah, I think I'm kind of set on this structure, still unsure about which players to actually put in the starting 11. So tempted to try and get Trent Alexander-Arnold in there, even if it is against Tottenham. It's just who to take out. Do I take out one of the front line, or do I just switch out one of the current defenders that are there? If you've got an opinion on that, feel free to give a comment below and say what your lineup would be, who you'd bench, who you'd start. So that brings me nicely on to captaincy. So as you can see, I've got my captain set as Bruno Fernandes currently. I think that's pretty much a good, strong pick with the fixture that they've got against Sheffield United. Sheffield United are struggling at the bottom of the table at the moment. Bruno's just been so consistent. He has got penalties as well. And the way United play on the counter a lot of the time, they've got fast players that are pushing into the box, forcing those last-ditch tackles, which do see them get a lot of penalties. So yeah, brilliant penalty taker as well. So all the right attributes to stick him as captain this week. I do realise that Salah is sat right next to him with the same sort of attacking potential and penalties as well, who also has had a rest, very similar in the FA Cup game for Bruno, and then Salah also had a little bit of a rest in the last fixture of the game week 19, but did play then a full game in the FA Cup against Manchester United. So both have had a rest within the last week or so. Both are very consistent. I think just down to the fixtures alone, I think I've got to side with Bruno this week. It could turn around that Salah was the better pick, but I think just on paper, it's got to be him for my team this week. I know a lot of players obviously would have been having Kevin De Bruyne as their first time choice this week, but unfortunately, another spanner in the works with an injury. So you can see I've got vice captain set as Foden. That is still willing to change on that at the moment. It's just a bit of an outside choice. I know that's another thing that a lot of people are thinking is that fixture is so good. Do they look to the Man City players to make as even their full captain? You could go for that Gundogan in and make him captain, hoping that he still gets these same returns. Doing the same with Foden, even looking at the defence. If they're definitely going to get a clean sheet from this fixture, which it isn't a certain, but it's very likely that they're going to come away with a clean sheet. Is it worth going for the defender who's going to get a 6-point return? And if they do get any attacking returns then as well, or bonus points on top, you're going to get double on that as well. So it is very tempting. Again, even looking at really outside choices is looking at the Leeds players. They haven't been as consistent, but against a really struggling Newcastle team, they just can't seem to find the right setup at the moment and chopping and changing through players. Bamford could get a return. Dallas again could keep a clean sheet. So it's a lot of choice this week, but for me, I'm going to stick with Bruno, and maybe just as an outside put one of the City boys in as a vice captain above Salah, just based on the fixture and just based on Tottenham having a good defensive structure at the moment. So yeah, playing it safe, but hopefully that works out for me. Feel free to leave a comment below about who you think will be vital this week and going forward. If you feel I've missed anyone, put their name below to hear mine and other managers' thoughts. If you like this video, please give it a like and hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell not to miss more content coming soon. Thanks for watching.